Mr. Ray here, Euclid Public Library, with Miss Christine, our Youth Services Manager. And today we're going to talk about Read Across America, which is a program that essentially is a celebration of reading. It's not even essentially, it's a celebration of reading. It started way back in 1998 by the National Education Association, NEA for short, and its sole purpose is to motivate, encourage, inspire young people, children, and teens to read. And it does it through events, programs, and a variety of giving a variety of reading resources to young people to do just that, just to encourage them to read. What I like most about the NEA's Read Across America is that it's very much culturally and ethnically inclusive, meaning that it's for everybody. The goal is to include books and other forms of literature that help young readers feel included, feel recognized, and most importantly, feel valued in their society, in their community, in their city, in their state, in their house, in their basement, in anywhere. You see where I'm going with this, right? So usually when we talk about Read Across America, we highlight a bunch of titles of books, suggestions, read this, read that, read that, read this. But today, me and Miss Christine, we're gonna do something a little different. What we're gonna do is we're gonna highlight what I consider probably my favorite author in young adult literature. He's on my Mount Rushmore of authors of today, Mr. Jason Reynolds. I am gonna talk about some short stories that he's written and an essay / poem that he's written. Miss Christine, she's going to talk about one of my favorite novels of his called As Brave as You, actually probably my most favorite, and then Long Way Down. There's a graphic novel version and there's the traditional novel version written in verse. So I am going to start off with, let's talk about Mr. Jason Reynolds. So I've never met Jason Reynolds. You hear me? I've never met him, but I feel like I know him. Or let me rephrase that. I feel like I know his characters that he writes. And if I don't know them, at times when I'm reading, I feel like I am them or I was them. He writes middle grade and teen literature. And at one point in time, I was a middle grade student, believe it or not. Don't let the grade get in the way of knowing that. And I was also a teen. And he writes such realistic fiction that it doesn't even feel like fiction. They're made up stories, but they feel real. And that's the beauty of him. He writes with a transparency that is unbelievable. He writes with an honesty that's unbelievable. And I'm going to first talk about a book called Look Both Ways, a tale told in 10 blocks. And it's a collection of short stories, but it's a very, very intriguing book of short stories, a very intriguing collection. Why is it so intriguing? Because imagine this. Go back to middle school. If you're not in middle school, go back there, or junior high if you're old enough to remember it as junior high. And if you're in middle school right now, just imagine this. Imagine 2:30, the final bell rings. Last period of class, 2:30, the dismissal bell rings, and then chaos breaks loose. Everybody rushes to get out of the building. Remember that? That's how this book is set up. When school ends, it takes place, it has 10 stories that are told across 10 blocks. I like to consider them 10 journeys. So there are 10 groups of kids, or there's one kid that takes a journey home. And that's what they are. And remember, when we used to leave school, anything could happen on the way home. From the small, the mundane, to the tragic, anything could happen. And this book covers all of it. So just think back if you walked home. Some of us walked home, some of us were car riders, some of us caught the bus. If you walked home, anything was possible, right? Remember walking home and there was, this one yard that if you had a ball, soccer ball, football, basketball, baseball, and it landed in this person's yard, you were like deathly afraid to go try to get it because that person that lived in that house probably wasn't that nice of a person, or like just like a grumpy old dude, that it seemed grumpy but probably had all the wisdom in the world. That's one of the stories that takes place in this 10 block, journey. Another one is, remember back when in middle school, if you were interested in a young man or a young lady, and in middle school, you didn't really know how to approach that. So who did you go to? You went to your friends. And then your friends gave you some horrible advice about how to approach this young man or this young lady. And it just went all bad. There's another story in there like that. But then he also gets serious. There's stories in here about bullying and how bullying has this domino effect where one kid goes to school, he's bullied beyond belief, by these kids. And then in order for him to relieve that pain, that stress, that agony, that anxiety that he felt every day going to school, he made a deal with the bullies to bully somebody else. And then you get to see how that domino effect kind of happens. So these are just 3 stories that are in this. That's 3 of the 7. And I didn't even give you any details, because the stories are written so well. So please go check out Look Both Ways, A Tale Told in 10 Blocks, short story collection by Jason Reynolds. Now, what I want you to wait and hold your breath for is Miss Christine. She's getting ready to tell you about As Brave as You. So, Christine?
Thank you so much, Ray. I wanted to take an opportunity to talk about my favorite Jason Reynolds book, which is As Brave as You. I read this on audiobook, read by Guy Lockhart, who is one of my very favorite audiobook readers. And this book is a lot like The Watsons Go to Birmingham. If you've ever read that book, it's an incredible book by Christopher Paul Curtis. I read that one on audiobook as well, but it focuses on day-to-day life. This particular book, As Brave as You, does not focus on Black trauma, on Black boy trauma, but it focuses on 2 boys who go to their grandparents' house for the summer. Jeannie and Ernie are the main characters, and it's just them living their lives day by day. And this book is kind of the most underrated of all of Jason Reynolds' books. When you read articles about him or you hear people talking about him, they don't talk about As Brave as You. And this is one that I wish people did talk about more, because it talks about a joyful experience. The boys do learn something along the way over the course of their summer with their grandparents, but they're not experiencing any trauma, they're not experiencing any poverty or a broken home or any of these situations that Black characters tend to be put in. And I couldn't nail down why I love this book, but talking with Ray about this, he was like, it's because there's no trauma. And I just couldn't believe how poignant that was, because it's true. This is just about 2 boys having a good time on their summer and enjoying their lives. And I wish there were more books like this. So please, if you have a chance, read As Brave as You by Jason Reynolds.
As Brave as You is my favorite novel that Jason Reynolds has written up to this point. Who knows what he's going to do next, but As Brave as You is it's my favorite. But let me just say something else about Jason Reynolds. He's an NAACP Image Award winner. He's won the Coretta Scott King Award. He's a New York Times bestseller. And most notably, he is the National Ambassador for Young People's Literature. And the key word there is national. So that means it's across, it's the country. He's just not in Brooklyn, this ambassador in Brooklyn. He's just not this ambassador in, Oxon Hill, Maryland, which is where he grew up. But it's the nation. That's how serious, this man is. That's how serious he is with his writing. But you heard all of those accolades for him. But think about it. Listen to this one. He didn't read his first book until he was 17. Now, go back to what I just said. NAACP Image Award winner, Coretta Scott King Award winner, New York Times bestselling author, National Ambassador for Young People's Literature. He didn't read his first book till he was 17. And that book was by my favorite author, Richard Wright. It's called Black Boy. Ironically, I didn't read my first book until I was 17. And lo and behold, Richard Wright was the novel that I read, but mine was Native Son, not Black Boy. So that goes to show you that you know, all is not lost. If you don't like to read right now, don't worry about it. Keep trying. Let programs like this, Read Across America, nudge you forward a little bit at a time to try to read. Find something that you like. It took me 17 years. It took Jason Reynolds 17 years. Keep trying. Don't quit. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to introduce you to another short story that I think is just outstanding. And it's really simple, but it has a lot of meaning to it, a lot of subtext there. And it is called Ingredients. That's the name of the short story. And it is in a collection of short stories compiled by author E.B. Zaboy. And it's called Black Enough, Stories of Being Young and Black in America. That's a pretty long title, but it's really meaningful. So what we have here is a bunch of stories about just being. And I paused there on purpose. Just being young, teenage, preteen, tween, just living life. So the story that Jason Reynolds wrote is called The Ingredients. And again, you can kind of put yourself in the position of a lot of these characters. Here, it's four young men in the summertime, and it's hot, and it's in Brooklyn, and they're going to the pool. So everybody's pretty much done that. Summertime, it gets hot. One of the things that we do in the summertime when we're young is go to the pool. So they walk to the pool. They get to the pool. They have their fun. But he describes in a very specific way, in the way that their life it reflects how their life is. And I'll leave that to you to go read. But he describes them in a way that as he's writing it, as I'm reading it for the first time, I'm finishing the sentences. Why? Because I feel like I know these characters. Matter of fact, I am one of the characters. So it's a short story, young man going to the pool. He describes them in a very unique way that for most of us, it will reflect a lot of your experience. And then they get to the pool, they have fun, things happen, and then they go home. So on their walk home, we start to get introduced to why he called it this title, why he called it The Ingredients. So they're walking home, and they're walking past all of these what's called bodegas, storefronts and they're starting to think about all of these sandwiches. They're hungry. After you swim and you get done swimming, you are really hungry because you've worked up an appetite by swimming. So they're fantasizing about all of these different sandwiches that they would eat. But what's beautiful about this story is that it's a journey through ethnicities, through cultures, using food. Culturally, food is the one identifier, that has like these ethnic and cultural roots. Different types of dishes are recognized by different ethnicities and cultures. And as these young men are walking home, they're fantasizing about the different types of sandwiches that they would like to eat because they're hungry. But he's using these different cultures and ethnicities to show you how cultured these young men actually are. It's a fantasy because they're hungry, but you never notice them actually going into the shop to try to get a sandwich. That leads us to another point. So as they're walking home, they don't go their separate ways. In the summertime, they just go to one person's house. They get there, and they're still fantasizing about all of this good food, these great sandwiches that they want to eat, and their stomach is growling, they got all these pains. And then the young man's house that they get there, he goes into the kitchen, and you hear him rumbling they're still talking about these sandwiches. He's rumbling in the kitchen, cabinets are slamming, pots and pans, silverware, you hear it clanging. And then he comes out with a box of cereal. And that's what they eat. So, what do you think about that story? It's more symbolic than anything else, but remember the fantasy, and then remember them coming home, still fantasizing about food, and then they eat cereal. The Ingredients. There you have it. It's a great story. This collection, Black Enough, stories about being young and black in America, it's in there. a lot of other good stories that I'd like to tell you about, but we're focusing on my man Jason Reynolds today. So next, Miss Christine is going to talk about another great novel with a lot of symbolism in it. It's called Long Way Down. Another one of my favorites. So take it away, Christine.
I am so pleased to be able to honor Jason Reynolds for Read Across America Day. I'd like to take some time to talk about another Jason Reynolds book that I enjoy, and it's actually two books. It is called Long Way Down. And take a look at all of the medals on the cover of this book. This book won the Walter Dean Myers Award from We Need Diverse Books. It was also an honor for the Newbery Medal, the Prince Award, and the Coretta Scott King Award. So this was a very well-received book. The book is a novel in verse, which means it's like poetry. And the entire book takes place over the course of 60 seconds. The main character, his name is Will, and his brother Sean was recently murdered. Will is in an elevator going up in an apartment building to seek revenge for his brother's death. As he is going up floor by floor, he encounters the ghost of a person from his past who was murdered. And along the way, he may or may not learn that maybe the way he's seeking revenge is not the way. The ending to the book is very ambiguous, so you don't know if he decides to abort his plan or follow through with his plan. I say it's two books because last year a graphic novel version was released, and this is illustrated by Danica Novgorodov. And I have to say that this artwork really elevates the story. The sense of urgency that you feel reading the print book is enhanced by this graphic novel. And I hear a lot of people say bad things about graphic novel adaptations of novels, especially Long Way Down, because Long Way Down is already a short book and there is a graphic novel here. But I have to appreciate what Jason Reynolds is doing when he is publishing books. He is trying to reach every single child in this country, because there are children who may not read the novel in verse, albeit short, but they would pick up this exciting graphic novel. So I appreciate everything that Jason Reynolds is doing for readers in our country. I think he is an incredible author. He is able to reach teens from all parts of the country. He can reach them in many different ways. He's published for kids and teens, and he is just an amazing person. I'm so glad that he's the National Ambassador for Young People's Literature, because he is an ambassador for books. He knows what he's doing when he's out there. And I just can't believe that around the time that I became a librarian, Jason Reynolds published his first book. So he has published so many incredible, well-received books in just a few short years. So please, if you read any Jason Reynolds book, please give Long Way Down a try.
One thing I can say about Long Way Down is it's probably the most intense novels that Jason Reynolds has written so far. I mean, I felt tense, reading it, as William goes down, these floors, as he, meets the next person and sees the next person. It's intense, man. So yes, please go check Long Way Down out. You won't be sorry. So now, what I'm going to talk about, and this is the sort of my last entry for this video, is it's a letter or a slash poem that Jason Reynolds wrote starting at the age of 16. And it's called For Everyone, a Poem, a Nod, a Nothing to Lose. And the title itself is intriguing, am I right? And it's about dreams. Simple as that. It's about dreams and, how they affect us and how they infect us. Dreams are lethal, and not dreams of when you go to bed and you have this, nightmare or this dream about something or somebody. We're talking about what you want to be, what you want to do, what paths you want to take in life. That's what he's talking about. He describes dreams as, these things that bubble inside of us. These ideas or these notions or these thoughts that are inside of our chest, in our heart, just trying to beat their way out of our body to help us exist, to help us be, to help us become better. And he talks about in this poem how dreams are dangerous if you let them become that, meaning that as you dream and you start to feel like you want to pursue your dream, you're going to run across some naysayers. You're going to run across some people that are kind of trying to knock you off of that, what they will probably consider a pedestal, because you have a focus. You have a path that you're trying to get down. Dreams can be dangerous, he talks about, because you yourself will try to knock you will try to knock yourself off of that path out of fear, because you may think like you can't do it. You may feel like you can't make it. You may feel like you're not good enough. You may feel like you don't have what it takes, and in this poem, in this letter, for everyone, he says that this letter, don't read it if you're not courageous. This letter is intended for the courageous. And the courageous doesn't mean, the most brave person. It doesn't mean the toughest person. It means the person that's willing to put one foot in front of the other and continue chipping away at that dream until you achieve it, until you achieve that goal, And he says in this poem, in this letter, if you don't, watch out, if you don't stay aware, you'll lose it. That dream can be lost. And the only way to find it is to focus back in, to stay true to who you are, stay true to what you want to be, stay true to the path that you want to take. If you want to be an athlete, be an athlete. If you want to be a chef, be a chef. If you want to be a carpenter, be a carpenter. If you want to be, dare I say, a writer, don't hide behind it. Don't be scared of it. Go get it. Go get it. And then he even takes, a path. He doesn't just write this for young people. It's called for everyone. So he even talks about and references, older folks like, say, myself, or Miss Christine, or anyone that you might meet at the library, or any of your teachers at school, or, anybody that's older than you. It's written for them too, because he says dreams don't have timelines, or they're not straight lines. So no matter where you are in life, no matter where you find yourself, this letter, he wrote for himself, but he found a way to give it to us as a gift. I mean, it's a really quick read. I would actually say, listen to it. I don't want to discourage you from actually picking up the book and reading it. But there's something about this one that I would advise you to check it out on Libby or Hoopla or Overdrive, whatever e-media you use, and listen to him read it. This is a powerful piece. It's a letter, it's a poem, it's a nod, it's a nothing to lose. I mean, he went there. I can't even say he didn't. I mean, he uses this refrain about, and he says that when he started at 16, and he says that when he was 18, he just knew he would make his first million by the time he was 25. I think all of us at some point have had, that type of ambition, but the reality of it is it doesn't always happen that way. And that's where the letter sort of started. He was 18. He just knew that by the time he was 25, he would have made his first millions, but then he ended up living back with his mom and starting over. And that's when that dream of his started to sort of bubble, and it started to, almost make him uncomfortable, because he was yearning to get out, to get started, to get moving, to get it done. So that's when he describes, this dream. So if you have a dream, I need you to read this book. I hope you have a dream. You should have a dream. If you don't, go to sleep, wake up, and get one. Have a goal, set something for yourself, and achieve it. That's what this one is for everyone. by Jason Reynolds, a poem, a nod, a nothing to lose. Read Across America is a great program. It's year-round. It's about being included, about being exposed to different forms of literature, different authors, different cultures, different ethnicities. Why? Because number one, you have to see yourself reflected in the world. We need to. If you don't, you'll probably never read a word or become comfortable with reading because you won't know that you exist. I mean, that's the truth in this. I can honestly say that that's the reason why I didn't start reading, seriously until I was about 17. Because I had a teacher who showed me in literature, and it intrigued me, so I started reading. So hopefully you don't have to wait until you're 17. If you do, don't worry. Trust me, you can catch up. But Read Across America is a great program. Christine and I and Euclid Public Library are very proud to talk about it, to be about it, and to inspire you culturally, ethnically, let me get that right, in any way we can, with programs, with different forms of literature, with resources, whatever you need. Come in, talk to us, see us, call us. Euclid Public Library. We'd be glad to help you and inspire you. So Read Across America 2021. We'll see you later.